Increase our faith. It's kind of random, don't you think? The text, these words in Luke, and I have said it before, the lectionary, this 3-year-long pattern of readings has an awful lot of men. And one of the things that it, in a sense, protects you from is the pastor standing up here constantly harping on his own pet peeves and so on and so forth. And sometimes a pastor's agenda, if he or she actually has one. But nevertheless, this 3-year-long pattern of readings has a lot commended. But sometimes, like this morning, you have the feeling, like I did this week, earlier in the week, that you have kind of stepped right into the middle of a conversation and feeling somewhat disoriented. You're just more or less, and I'm sure you've done this before, I've done it before, we just more or less shake our heads and in agreement, embarrassed at the prospect of saying to people, what were we talking about again? Increase our faith. Supersize it while you're at it. Though we're not exactly sure why the disciples have asked that. Jesus has been talking about at the beginning of the chapter, the verses that are omitted, verses 1 through 4. He's been talking about stumbling blocks. The Greek word is scandalon. Scandal, you've heard that before. We always have a few good, juicy scandals going on here in Michigan and in Washington and Hollywood. They never disappoint us. There's always something. Scandalon means a rock in the road that you trip over. Jesus has been talking about stumbling blocks and the fact that in our life together and as God's family here at St. Mark, we should exercise care and sensitivity in not leading someone astray. Taking someone who has come for whatever reason to trust us and leading them to a place, into something that could ultimately do damage to them, spiritually, morally, and physically. I love the story. In fact, I love it. It's from Scotland. There is a man who lays dying. And in the story, his heart, and apparently this was a true story, a man whose burden is by something in his distant past. And he confesses to his minister. He said, when I was young, as a kind of prank, I went to a sign, and I twisted the sign in its socket where two roads meet. And I made the arms point in the wrong direction. Through the years, every now and then, I wondered to myself how many people I sent the wrong way. I wonder. And so be on your guard. Exercise caution and love. But even so, in your life together, in your own families, you know this is the truth. You know this is the truth. But it even happens here. And if you think there are places, churches, where this doesn't happen, good luck. You go look for it and come back when you find it. But you'll never find it. Communities where people sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally, actually hurt each other. It happens even at St. Mark. Sometimes it happens even at St. Mark. Sometimes we get in each other's way. Sometimes we step on each other's toes. And so we are reminded in what Jesus says before we even get to our reading this morning. He says it is important for the sake of forgiveness that we pursue each other in forgiveness, for the sake of forgiveness, and not for revenge, and not for paybacks. Forgiveness without any thought of quantifying it. Forgiveness, moving whatever it is that has come between us so that we can move it out of the way and get to each other. Even in those situations when maybe the other person is responsible for 80% of what has happened or what has not happened. All you can do ultimately, is take responsibility for your 20% or your 10% or your 5%. It's the only way any of us ever stand a chance of going on together. I don't have to tell you, but I'll say it anyway. You know that forgiveness is difficult, particularly when the wound is deep, sometimes when the wound is fresh, sometimes when it's so blatantly obvious to you and to me and to everyone around that the slight was intentional. If you ask me how have I changed over the years, I would say over the years I have become pretty good at forgiveness. Pretty good. But then I see a scene in a courtroom in Dallas, and I see a young man embrace his brother's killer because he was murdered in his own apartment. That's exactly what happened. And I'm reminded how far I have to go. The apostles came up and they said to the Master, give us more faith. Our faith is inadequate to the task. It's insufficient to the challenges, and we need more. In fact, we begin to understand as we listen to Robin read again that second reading, as Paul shares wisdom with a young Timothy, how hard this calling is, how difficult it is to live the kingdom way and to live in God's household. And if we're going to do it, basically, and we're reminded again that we cannot treat each other, and we certainly cannot speak to each other, say the way, I don't know, the way two candidates vying for a coveted office have a tendency to speak to each other. Can you say amen to that?
Amen.
True that. Jesus says, you don't need more faith. You don't need more or less. All that you need to live as a Christian has been given to you. And so in essence, stop sitting around taking your own pulse. Stop sitting around and staring at the lint in your own navel. Get on with it. There's a scene in the movie Field of Dreams. It's near the end when James Earl Jones, the author, is invited into the mystery of the cornfield. And Ray wants to go desperately. And you know that Ray has followed this disembodied voice on a surreal journey. Finally, he says to Shoeless Joe in exasperation, he says, why don't I get to go? He goes, that's my field. That's my corn. You are guests on my field. Shoeless Joe says, Ray, what are you saying, Ray? And Ray says, I'm asking what's in it for me. This morning at the very end, Jesus anticipates that very response on the part of his followers. When you have done everything that is expected of you, be matter of fact and say, the work is done, and what we were told to do, that's what we did. He does not in any way, shape, or form denigrate the good that you do and the good that has been done in this place this week. The good that each and every one of you have done, and some of the most incredible things that are often done, and I'm absolutely convinced of this in life, are things that someday you will die and you will stand before God. And there will be things that you did that were so wonderful and such a potent witness to the kingdom, you were completely oblivious to it. But God saw it. God will say, I remember that time you said such and such, or you did such and such. And it made me proud. It is not in any way, shape, or form does Jesus denigrate the good that we do. But at the end of the day, we are doing what we were told to do. Faith, even the size of a kernel, can be expressed in different ways. Faith can engage our brains, and so we think things through deeply, and then we come up with Jesus, God from God, light from light, true God from true God. Faith that can engage heart and head, like the great Pascal saying one day, certainty like fire in my bones, and still at other times, yeah, faith sometimes can be a feeling. At times a feeling of comfort and warmth. A chilly day with gusty winds, and you wrap the blanket of all those promises around you and you draw it tight. Sometimes faith is expressed in duty. Sometimes it's not particularly heroic or highly inspirational. You just do what happens to be in front of you at a given moment, and you get on with it. And again, as I said before, I know that doesn't sound particularly exotic or hyper-inspirational, but when all is said and done, 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, that's the way it is. Like close cousin love, we find ourselves caught up in something that is so much bigger than you and me and ourselves, and we find ourselves doing things that we may not think was all that much fun. And heaven forbid, because we live in a world of feelings, we may not even feel like it, but we do it anyway. Love that you have been called and love you have been sent. The best that you can do for Christ and for His church, the best that you can do even for yourself, is to get on with it. Do it.